Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 166 based on novel. So let's start. It's you. Rock-Wind Jean stared wide-eyed. My god. He was only acting and pretending to catch a few punks to satisfy the Pure Feather family. He didn't expect to actually catch such a terrifying character. Rock-Wind Jean's eyes gleamed, shouting, Pure Feather Chong, you abducted him too, right? He's already dead. Luo Feng smiled, dead? Rock-Wind Jean's expression was ugly. Pure Feather Chong is already dead. This man before him would most likely kill him too. What to do, now that his Dantian was destroyed, he had no energy within. And on top of that, his soul was being suppressed by the enemy's powerful pressure. He wanted to resist and communicate with others to cry for help, but he had no way at all to do so. What could he do? Rock-Wind Jean's expression was ugly. He was in a mess. What can I do for him not to kill me? Rock-Wind Jean looked at the black-haired youth before him. Speak, whatever you want, I'll do it. Give me 10 Blood River crystals and I won't kill you. Luo Feng stood there and smiled. Can you do that? Rock-Wind Jean couldn't help but stare wide-eyed. 10 crystals? Even my big brother cannot take out 10 crystals like that. However, I have one here, which I can give you. Please spare my life. Even though his Dantian was destroyed, he was still alive, since the most important part of a human was his soul. As long as the soul was fine, the body could recover, and the lost energy could also be retrained. No, one is not enough, it has to be 10 crystals. Luo Feng shook his head. You are playing with me. Rock-Wind Jean was anxious and angry. Right, I'm just playing around with you. Luo Feng said indifferently, go and die. Rock-Wind Jean immediately roared madly. Save me. His powerful body made his roar thunderous and booming. The sound waves rippled in all directions, however they were all blocked by a formless powerful spirit energy barrier. This spirit energy blocked off everything, not even a whisper could escape. What's the point of struggling? Luo Feng slapped Rock-Wind Jean's forehead. His genetic energy pierced into his head, causing his brain to become nothing but a mess. Rock-Wind Jean was dead. Just what is the Blood River crystal like? Luo Feng scanned through his body, and immediately found the space item. With no banks on Blood River continent, all of the warriors here mostly stored large amounts of their treasures in their space items and carried them on their bodies. This was because it was safest there. As long as they don't die, they wouldn't lose their treasures. And if they did die, the treasures wouldn't mean anything to them. This space ring isn't bad. Luo Feng grabbed the space ring and his spirit energy immediately rushed in, prying it open and checking the contents inside. So wealthy, he had about 10 times more than the 13 acts. Luo Feng was still smiling initially. However, the more he searched, the more he began to frown. There were large amounts of currency within, along with some valuable weapons and treasures in many boxes. However, his initial scan didn't pick up any Blood River crystal. The appearance of the crystal was something he had seen before in the common knowledge books. There's no way he doesn't have it. What if it's not on his body? No way. Luo Feng searched again carefully, especially within a box of gems. There were many crystals within. Luo Feng split his spirit energy into 1,000 threads and individually inspected each of them. Immediately, a smile appeared on his face. With a flip of his hand, a round black crystal appeared in his palm. Looking at this crystal before him, Luo Feng shook his head. This Rock-Wind Jean, he even disguised the Blood River crystal and threw it in with the rest of the gems. Anyone who doesn't search properly with spirit energy would have missed it. The black round crystal in his palm was attacked by needle-like spirit energy. It immediately began to split open. Very quickly, the layer of black broke and it finally revealed the Blood River crystal within. Blood red. Blood red in color, the color of life. It was a long triangular crystal, transparent and blood red, glowing slightly, with a formless ripple about it. It gave off a faint feeling of a heart beating, ripples that beat after another. Blood River crystal. Luo Feng looked at the triangular transparent crystal in his palm. He couldn't help but exclaim, beautiful. He waved his hand and Rock-Wind Jean's body on the floor vanished, followed by the blood stains and smell of blood in the air all vanished as well. Very good. Within a short time, no one will ever know that Rock Wind Zhon is already dead. Luo Feng smiled. I think that they would have thought Rock Wind Zhon must have headed to somewhere else. Warriors secluding themselves or disappearing for 1 or 2 years was a very normal thing. Even though he was a general, disappearing for 3 to 5 days wasn't a thing to be suspicious of. Luo Feng became a blur and rushed out from the window, disappearing hundreds of kilometers away in an instant. The entire palace was silent. The large amounts of soldiers, staff and guards within the general's mansion all didn't know that their general was already dead. At the same time that Luo Feng had killed Rock Wind Zhon and acquired the Blood River Crystal. Within Swallow Mound City Leader's mansion, come, drink, ha, Rock Wind Jr. We haven't seen each other in so long, and you've already become a city leader. Your seniors are really happy, drink. Within the living room, a group of beautiful women were dancing. 3 men were laughing loudly and drinking their wine, one of which was Swallow Mound City's person with the most authority, city leader Rock Wind Xiong. The other 2 were dressed in grey standard armor. Senior, I've only become a city leader. How can I compare to you? You've become a special envoy of the Undying Shrine. No matter where in our continent, who would dare disrespect you? Rock Wind Zhon laughed loudly. It's nothing. The handsome middle-aged man laughed. Senior, you and Special Envoy Mo, for what reason have you 2 rushed over from the Undying Shrine for? Rock Wind Zhon asked curiously. The handsome middle-aged man and Special Envoy Mo beside glanced at each other. Envoy Mo spoke. Brother Rock Wind, it's not that we don't want to tell you, it's just the Undying Shrine's rules. Hence, we cannot disobey. Actually, we rushed over this time is mainly because of your master, also the leader of the world city. We cannot say anything else. As it is something regarding your master, I arranged for old Mo to come along as well. Since we passed by your place, naturally we had to come pay you a visit. The handsome middle-aged man smiled. I've missed you too. Rock Wind Zhon exclaimed. Speaking of which, when Rock Wind Zhon was accompanying his 2 friends and chatting, he didn't even know that his younger brother had already died. 300,000 kilometers away from Swallow Mound City, in the wilderness, Luo Feng Saturday, 1 Blood River Crystal. Luo Feng grabbed the Blood River Crystal and stared at the incomparably mysterious crystal. One of the dangerous level missions was to acquire this 1 crystal to get 10,000 points. I can use it to exchange for points or I can absorb it. What should I do without a doubt? Luo Feng began to grin as his finger became like a blade, slicing his left palm. A slash wound opened and fresh blood flowed out. Luo Feng took a deep breath and placed this triangular Blood River Crystal within that wound. This was the absorption technique from the books he had read, and during his time in the city he had heard others discuss. Almost everyone in the entire Blood River continent knew this. Although the method was simple, doing it was hard. Is it going to be difficult? Luo Feng looked at his palm. The beautiful and glaring crystal touched and began to fuse with the wound. Especially when it first touched the wound, immediately a formless peculiar energy burst forth from the crystal. Almost like a wild beast that had been suppressed for too long, raging and rushing into Luo Feng's body. The originally confident Luo Feng's expression changed. He began to struggle. Damn. Luo Feng grit his teeth. Rumble. A formless, incredibly brutal and powerful willpower descended on him, fusing with his consciousness. Kill, kill. An endless stream of wild shouts to kill roared within his mind. That formless, brutal and powerful willpower was clashing time and again with his own. It was purely a test of willpower. Willpower differed from each other. Consciousness was something that was linked to the strength of one's spirit energy. Willpower, however, was reliant completely on one's belief and strength. A student level's willpower could potentially be as terrifying as that of a sector lord. Just this level of willpower and you want to attack me? Within his mind Luo Feng thought, return to ashes. Rumble. Luo Feng's incredibly strong willpower was like a huge mountain, immediately smashing down on the roaring outside willpower influence. At the same time, Luo Feng thought curiously, consciousness pressure, use consciousness to attack. How can pure willpower invade my body like that? How strange. Ah, not good. Rumble. As its willpower was smashed by Luo Feng's, the Blood River Crystal's true peculiar energy was unleashed. That red crystal's threads began to madly invade Luo Feng. Luo Feng's body couldn't help but begin to shake and tremble. Luo Feng's facial muscles were spasming uncontrollably. The layers of skin contracted and condensed at times while splitting open and bleeding at another. His arms expanded even more violently, and his veins were more visible than ever. It looked almost like transparent crystal pathways, and occasionally purely gold. His muscles kept changing. Pain. Extreme pain. What's going on? Just what is this blood river crystal doing? Luo Feng roared within. He could feel the temperature in his body reach unbelievable heights, almost like it was about to be burned to ashes. However, in an instant it would drop to shocking lows. It became so cold that he couldn't even feel his body. Luo Feng's 10 fingernails extended, almost like metal fingernail blades. After which it swiftly retracted back and his 10 fingers began to change. Even the bones were changing within. His entire hand began to resemble claws, and fur started sprouting out around them. Not just his fingers, even on his arms, legs, feet, and face, the black fur grew all over. At that moment, Luo Feng looked like a Sasquatch. However, a few minutes later, the fur quickly retracted and vanished. Black scales began to pop out from his arms, fingers, legs, feet, and even his face. His entire body became huge and powerful. Just what is this blood river crystal? My God! No matter how strong his imagination was, Luo Feng would never have expected anything like this to happen. And the process of absorption was still going on. Nighttime, the wind was like blades blowing strong in the vast wilderness, and hiding in the wild grass was a faint silhouette. The robes on his body were already torn into shreds, however below the shreds was a strong body with skin that was emitting white energy. Inhale. Luo Feng took a deep breath while sitting cross-legged. His chest sank in and the stomach expanded, almost as though there was a large balloon within his stomach. This balloon then shifted upwards and his stomach contracted and his chest expanded. After which, the huge bulge separated into 4 portions, heading towards Luo Feng's 2 arms and 2 legs. Bulges appeared through his skin. It was incredibly peculiar. Exhale. Luo Feng let out a long breath before opening his eyes. I finally made it through. Luo Feng was shocked within. Pain? Under immense pain, Luo Feng could endure almost anything easily. However, the absorption feeling earlier, it was something he really didn't like. Because, besides the extreme pain, the most uncomfortable thing was that Luo Feng's own soul and consciousness couldn't control his own body. Losing the ability to control his body, this was a feeling he had never felt before. No matter what, this type of feeling is finally over. Luo Feng tore off the shredded clothes and carefully examined his body. No matter what angle he looked at least from the exterior, there didn't seem to be any difference at all, compared to before the absorption of the crystal. During the absorption itself, his body constantly morphed into things he had never seen before. It shouldn't be. Luo Feng frowned. I'll test it. Luo Feng gazed into the distance. Spirit energy. Rumble, the distant wilderness big piece of land that was at least 10 million tons immediately floated up. Also, with the spirit energy wrapped about the entire piece, there was no leakage at all. Under Luo Feng's control, this mountain of mud flew in mid-air and in a round arc about, no different. When it come to invasiveness, emptiness, flexibility, toughness, my spirit energy has no difference from before. My consciousness and willpower has no difference either. Luo Feng shook his head. The piece of land revolving in the dead of night immediately fell from the air and smashed back into the crater from before. My soul wasn't affected. How about the body? Luo Feng frowned, suddenly throwing out a punch. Rumble. With that punch, a high-pressured shockwave was formed, causing an explosion in air. The terrifying ripple cut through the grass, completely clearing out a few kilometers in area around him. No difference. Luo Feng squinted his eyes. Ripples of energy vibrated all over his skin. All the strength in his muscles was immediately sent to his right hand, which was formed into a fist. Luo Feng had transferred all his strength into that instantaneous explosion, resulting in that ear-piercing explosion as he punched. I felt it, I felt it. Within the depths of my cells, there's a change. Luo Feng's eyes were filled with a sense of glee. This is an evolution of life? Every time a flesh and blood life form breaks through, there would be an evolution. Breaking through to Star Traveler, to Star level, to Universe level, the rest of the leveling was simply quantity-based training. My body is still Universe level 9. I haven't broken through. However, my bones, muscles, and every cell within has had some change. Luo Feng was excited and anxious within, because every evolution from each breakthrough from Star Traveler to Sector Lord level, none of the 5 breakthroughs were normal. The books had said the evolution was mysterious, and this wasn't exaggerated at all. However, the changes deep within his cells, even with Luo Feng's spirit energy, he couldn't fully deduce them clearly. There's no other way, I can only gradually get used to it. I will have to learn to feel it, and slowly understand its changes. Luo Feng thought, following which he looked at the night sky. Su! He rushed up and immediately broke through the cloud levels until the 12th level. I'll investigate the mysteries of my body's changes here in the clouds. Luo Feng brandished a blood shadow blade and practiced in the clouds. Swallow Mound Flying Cloud Pavilion, Luo Feng's quarters. Even though he had continuously killed 2 prominent figures in Swallow Mound City, Luo Feng was still carefree and training in his quarters. As he was worried he might destroy the pavilion, hence he purposely used spirit energy to create a barrier around, and he trained within. Any ripples his fists caused were completely blocked by this barrier. He could train both his spirit energy and train recklessly within. Mysterious indeed. He could already feel the initial changes of the Blood River Crystal's mysteries. He was very excited. Suddenly, he stopped and looked through the window outside. There were 2 people walking over, Nabu and Eneku, father and son duo. I'll take a break now. The gleeful Luo Feng walked to the 1st level. At the same time, Nabu and Eneku had just walked into the yard. Lord Feng, come in. Luo Feng smiled and sat down. He lifted a wine glass and poured a glass of Blood River World's wine for himself and was sipping. A chill permeated through his entire body. He smiled comfortably. Why have you rushed over here so early? We heard that Lord Feng was taken into General Rockwind's prison. This kid was so nervous that he jumped up and down after. So I accompanied him to visit you in the prison, only to find out that you had already left. The silver-haired Nabu smiled. Hence, today we thought we'd come pay you a visit early. Lord Feng, if you have any troubles or matters in the future, please call us. Even though I may not be able to solve some big issues, however, when it comes to most trivial matters in Swallow Mound City, I'm able to help you settle them, thanks. Luo Feng smiled. However, there's nothing much now. Ah? Eneku replied. His expression wasn't too happy. What's the matter? Luo Feng smiled. Nabu could see this mysterious warrior was in a good mood today. He smiled and explained, this kid is having some trouble in the relationship department, hence his sulking today. Relationship troubles? Luo Feng laughed loudly. Eneku, you've fallen out of love. What's falling out of love? Eneku looked up at Luo Feng. It means you like someone, but she doesn't like you back. Luo Feng lifted the glass and sipped happily. Right. Nabu smiled beside, rubbing his son's head. His son, however, dodged unhappily. Nabu laughed. The other party doesn't like him. Actually, speaking of which, Eneku did give a new lease of life to that girl. Just thinking about the matter makes me want to laugh. New lease of life? Luo Feng was shocked. Father. Eneku was unhappy. Nabu just smiled and explained, my son has had a kind heart from young. He likes to bring his guards to bars and other places, to listen to stories of other strong warriors. He worships these heroes, hence he acts like these heroes sometimes. Almost like robbing the rich for the poor, he would give his family's money secretly to the poor. One of the poor families only has a mother and a daughter. My son has been secretly helping them since she was young. After that, she grew up and got older. I don't know how, but my son actually fell for that poor family's daughter. Ah? Luo Feng starred. Helping the poor, helping till he actually falls for the poor family's girl. Eneku was blushing, and not just that. My son has always been secretly giving money to the mother of that girl. Funding the girl. Nabu shook his head. When that girl actually tried to enter one of the sects in our city, my son immediately gave a large amount of money secretly to that mother. And just like that, that poor family's daughter, from a poor little girl, she became a genius warrior of that sect. Secretly, my son had been supporting her for 12 years. What happened after that? Luo Feng was curious. My son secretly liked that girl, hence he too joined that sect. Nabu shook his head. It's a pity, just yesterday, he went to confess and was rejected. Ah? Luo Feng laughed happily. Eneko looked angrily at his father. Your father cannot speak a few words with Lord Feng? Nabu stared at his son. Eneko could only look down, his ears all red, and not just that. Nabu said, if things still aren't interesting enough, just as my son got rejected and walked towards the exit, his spirit dejected. That girl's mother actually came to the sect to visit her daughter. Seeing my son, this gets exciting. That mother actually hugged my son and expressed her gratitude. Ah? Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. That girl ran over. Seeing the situation, she was extremely curious and asked her mother about this benefactor. Her mother told her the truth, saying how my son had been helping them all this while. Nabu laughed loudly. At this, the girl was stunned, and she couldn't even believe it initially, saying Eneko wasn't even 20 years old, and it doesn't make sense, because the support started over 10 years ago. Her mother said, back then, a little rich kid under the protection of guards secretly gave them money, and she had watched as the little rich kid slowly grew up. Nabu exclaimed, who would have thought a little kid's playful attitude actually produced such a scene? What happened after? Luo Feng laughed and asked curiously, how did that girl react to Eneko? That girl had backbone, she was very grateful. Nabu said, she told my son directly, I'm willing to repay my debt to you for my family as your slave, even if you wish, I'll marry you. Ah? That's a pleasant surprise. Luo Feng laughed, it's not over. Nabu laughed loudly. My son asked her modestly, do you like me? That girl said, my mind is set on the martial arts, and there's no one I fancy. However, the debt I owe to you, I have no other way to repay. Nabi said, after the girl finished, my son said directly, I, Eneko, will never force anyone. If you don't like me, then I won't force you. After which, this son of mine, he turned and brought his guards away with him. Ha ha, as Nabu finished, he couldn't help but laugh loudly once again. Interesting, interesting. Luo Feng laughed too. Father. The youth Eneko was blushing red, angry and embarrassed. Not bad, Eneko, not bad. Luo Feng laughed and complimented. Eneko gripped his fists and said seriously, I won't force anyone. However, there will come a day that I will make her like me. He said that as he looked up, filled with resolve, good resolve. Luo Feng couldn't hold back his laughter anymore, and laughed with Nabu once again. Luo Feng continuously studied the effects of the absorption of the Blood River crystal for half a month. Only 2 days had passed on Blood River continent, before finally getting a good grasp on its overall benefits. Its mysterious energy permeated deep into one's cells, creating a change that occurred from the very essence within to trigger evolution. It caused every cell to be infused with a mysterious special energy. This wasn't genetic energy, wasn't spirit energy, it was something unknown. He only needed to drive this energy. Standing topless in his pavilion's second floor, with a snort, he controlled his body's every cell. As he did that, the countless connections from before immediately triggered that unknown energy. Suddenly, a blood-red engraving that seemed simple yet incomparably magical appeared on his chest. When it appeared on his skin, Luo Feng's perception of the world was completely different from before. How wonderful! Luo Feng closed his eyes. Gold, wood, water, fire, ground, wind, thunder, light, time, space. Before his absorption of the crystal, many of the universe origin laws, along with the 2 laws space and gold with which he had some achievements in, still felt like a blur. This was completely unlike the golden horned beast or the Mosha clan body whose comprehension was still higher. However, when he triggered the unknown energy and the engraving appeared on his chest, everything cleared up. Even his control of the laws became somewhat easier. Nightmare, Luo Feng waved his blade. Chilly flash of the blade made hearts tremble. World's End, countless and endless flashes, it could stop 10 million enemies. Hatred, a brutal and incredibly savage flash, it could cut through anything obstructing it. Illusion, almost like a drunken warrior randomly waving his blade, yet it also resembled countless blades waving about. Pensive, a blur silhouette accompanied the blurry flashes of the blade. Burial, the final and most savage attack, it made hearts tremble in fear. Dutchman's Pipe, a dance in the face of life and death, hoping it to bloom before death. Luo Feng didn't use his genetic energy to unleash his blade work in the pavilion. His spirit energy formed a protective barrier, at least it guaranteed that his attacks wouldn't damage the construct, this wonderful feeling. Luo Feng opened his eyes, Blood River Crystal, it's heavenly. The Blood River Crystal's uses were similar to the Mosha body. Even if the Mosha body's comprehension was lower, it could still unleash a shocking amount of power. Also, it made his comprehension of the space laws easier. After absorbing the Blood River Crystal, it wasn't just space laws, his feeling for the laws of the gold, wood, water, fire, ground, wind, thunder, light, space and time all felt quite a bit clearer, or it could also be said that after the absorption, his relationship with the universe laws was much closer and easier to feel. Since it was easier to feel, it resulted in the Earth body's comprehension speed to rise. As his relationship with the laws gets closer, when he unleashes an attack, the power would be amplified one-fold. If the Earth human body can only use the 100-thread movement with the same amount of comprehension, the Mosha clan could unleash the 10,000-thread movement. It's a pity, the Mosha clan unleashing space techniques has 10 times the power. However, with the absorption of the crystal, it only increased by 20 to 30%. Luo Feng laughed, I can't be too greedy. The Mosha clansman is after all the strongest assassins in the universe, they couldn't be joking about that. As heavenly as the Blood River Crystal was, it raised his comprehension for all the laws. And when unleashing these laws, his powers all rose greatly as well. By absorbing one Blood River Crystal, his power grew by 20-30%. Blood Warrior? Black Warrior? Luo Feng pondered. Since there's such a saying of the Blood Warrior and Black Warriors, I think, after absorbing 3 crystals, there'll be a special change. Absorbing 10 will have an even more shocking change, Blood River Crystals. I have to acquire them now, the more the better. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. The Mosha clansmen were born with certain skills, and absorbing more Blood River Crystals could help him get to a point like a Mosha clansman being. Of course, the more Blood River Crystals he absorbed, the harder it got. Otherwise, the Black Warrior saying wouldn't just be a saying anymore. Tonight, I'll go take care of the city leader. Luo Feng's eyes were cold. He's the one in Swallow Mound City with the most crystals. Swallow Mound City, General's Mansion. City leader Rock Win Xiong stood looking gloomy on his balcony. Behind him were 8 high-level officers. Speak, where's the general? Rock Win Xiong said softly. I've ordered for him, yet he didn't even reply. I've even come looking for him and he's not here. Just where did he go? His scoundrel friend Pure Feather Chong is already dead. Where is he? Back then, Rock Win Chong and Pure Feather Chong were indeed the two that played about madly. They did all sorts of crooked activities, they were too numerous to count. Among the two, one was the Pure Feather family leader while the other was Swallow Mound City's general, who in Swallow Mound City would dare mess with them. City leader, we don't know either. When it comes to the general's disappearance, we all don't know, right? I think the general snuck out to play, hence he didn't tell us. The 8 high-ranking officers all replied that bastard Rock Win Xiong was enraged. Give the order. The moment anyone finds the general, tell him to get over here to me, yes. The 8 officers replied respectfully, after which Rock Win Xiong vanished. Only at this time did the 8 relax. Muttering and discussing amongst themselves, what's going on? Previously, when the general went out to play, I've never seen the city leader that furious before. It's only been 2 to 3 days so far, he's even disappeared for half a month before, and that's considered normal, no idea. However, from the looks of it, the city leader is extremely angry. The general is in trouble this time. The general was in tragic trouble indeed, because he was already dead. Late night. Luo Feng stood in his own study of the pavilion. He was dressed in black armor and boots, even bringing a helmet and mask. He carried behind him a shield and blood-red blade. City leader Rock Win Xiong, he is close to Domain Lord level 2, and someone who has absorbed a crystal before. Luo Feng thought. Even though in domain and origin laws, I far exceed him, he is still after all a domain lord. I cannot be careless. Against Pure Feather Chong, Luo Feng wore only a black robe. Against Rock Win General, he he wore a simple normal robe and was very casual. Only this time, he was fully prepared. He even donned a mask. Because Luo Feng was very clear that unless he used the Moshe clan, by simply relying on his human body alone, this would be a tough battle. There's no meaning if the battle isn't tough. The more I fight higher levels, the more interesting it will be. Luo Feng smiled. With a flash, he vanished without a trace from the pavilion. Swallow Mound city leader's mansion, the security was tight. A blurry silhouette was moving through, and it was very hard to detect. Swiftly heading towards the city leader Rock Winxiong's mansion. Considering that Rock Winxiong was the strongest within the city leader's mansion, naturally he didn't use cloud levels, universe level, and sky level, star levels, as bodyguards. Illusionary manual, it's more proficient in assassinations, and I'm after all only a universe level 9. If I use force against him, I will be at a disadvantage. If I can assassinate him, it would be beautiful. Luo Feng gazed at the distant palace. Through the universe space, he could feel that there was a familiar energy within. It was Rock Winxiong's energy. Luo Feng wielded the blood shadow blade and instantly vanished within the palace. The tall and sturdy Rock Winxiong sat in his study desk, and on it were many reports. He couldn't help but smack the table and stand up. He was walking about in the study, frowning. My senior and envoy Mo, it's rare that they pay me a visit. I originally wanted to introduce them to my little brother. I didn't expect this bastard to disappear, and I can't even find him. My senior and Mo have been here for 3 days and are about to leave. If I can't find him soon, the next time my brother gets to meet envoys from the Undying Shrine would be a very long time from now. Bastard, what a bastard! Rock Winxiong got angrier as he thought about it. Entertaining the envoys for the past few days, has it been easy? Everything was top-notch and best. Rock Winxiong's feelings for the skies and ground were very sensitive. He was able to feel an energy about, immediately roaring, who is it? Rumble. With Rock Winxiong as the center, countless lightning bolts shot in all directions. It strangely shot through the palace without any hint of harming anything within, forming a huge spherical-shaped lightning barrier around a 1-kilometer area. A few soldiers and staff were all extremely afraid. However, after discovering the lightning ball didn't harm them, they still ran out with fear out of the area. A flash of a blade immediately lit up within the palace, almost like a huge sickle slicing straight at Rock Winxiong. Only at this time could he barely make out a warrior dancing with his blades, completely covered in black armor. Get lost! Rock Winxiong roared. A large purple sledgehammer appeared in his hand. It rumbled as he swung it. The attack infused with lightning and thunder swung forward, causing the black-armored person to dodge it. This mad energy was like countless arrows shooting in all directions, causing rumbles and explosions to erupt all about the palace. At this time Rock Winxiong's eyes were gleaming with lightning. Holding a huge sledgehammer in each hand, he rushed forward within the palace, indeed a domain lord level 2, with a level 9 domain and one who has entered the gateway of the Thunder Laws. Luo Feng spit out some blood as he dodged. However, in the blink of an eye his body recovered, his gaze fixed and was once again as cold and collected as before. I'll use speed. Kill him. Sure. A roar had just erupted from Rock Winxiong's mouth. However, in an instant, an incredibly condensed golden domain was unleashed. Space and gold laws combined, melding with the terrifying domain formed in the universe space. This gold domain was a golden wave with gold properties, which fused with the universe space and immediately pressuring and destroying that thunder domain. Simultaneously around Rock Winxiong's body, 100 black-armored warriors appeared. Every one of them wielded a 6-edged shield and blood shadow blade. Absolute domain, time-space scribbles number 2891 technique, messy void kill. Luo Feng roared within, space origin laws. Wielding the 2 purple sledgehammers, Rock Winxiong was shocked at the scene. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.